Yeah, you can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
You could beat the world, you could beat the war, you could talk to God, go banging on his door.
Hi guys, so this is my riding introduction video for my series Generation 10. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal experience in riding and then also how the riding phase into triathlon differs from your typical show jumping course, because that's the main important thing that a lot of people don't realize. So for me, just like most pony clubbers, I've been riding basically forever, and I started riding when I basically could walk. So riding was never really a problem for me of the 4 phases into triathlon, and it was always something that came naturally for me. I always had a horse that was a pretty good jumper, and it was just one of the phases that I never really had to practice for differently than I would the other phases. But the one thing that I did train a little bit differently for was always about 2 weeks to maybe 3 weeks before the competition. I would always focus more on my show jumping than I would on my dressage or cross country, because I'm an eventer. So being an eventer, I obviously focus on the show jumping aspect as well as the dressage aspect as well as cross country. However, for triathlon, since it's just a show jumping course, I usually would only focus on the show jumping a couple weeks before the competition, so that was where my strength was at the time. Something else is I saw others train basically in the same way. I know a lot of the kids in my area usually train in that way and usually mainly show jump the weeks before, and then along with practicing show jumping, I would see others as well as myself mainly practicing the gates. I try to practice the gates as much as possible, but since they're sometimes hard to get on your hands and they're very different than a normal jump, practicing the gate on a daily basis and on a very regular basis isn't always realistic. But always at least 2 weeks to a month before the competition, I would always try to either set up my own gate and make a makeshift one or find one in the area so I could practice the swing gate, where you have to stay on your horse and swing open a gate and then swing it back closed and then continue on with your course, or practice the slip rail gate, where you get off your horse, you move a rail, you walk your horse over the lower part of the gate, and then you close it, and then you get back on your horse. So when I've personally seen people compete into triathlon, the problem they have is they have problems with the gates. They usually don't have problems with jumping. Yes, they might have a rail here and there, or they might have a refusal at one weird fence, but usually the place where people lose points or lose their time or have trouble is at the gates, because they don't practice it enough personally on their own horse, or if they're borrowing a horse, they need to practice it on that horse. So something I would really recommend doing is practicing it on the horses you're going to be using in the competition. I know a lot of times people share horses, especially into triathlon, where you can share a horse. Up to 3 riders can ride 1 horse, which is a really great benefit of triathlon, but you want to make sure that you've practiced it on the horse that you will be riding on the day of the competition. Every horse is very different in how you should bring them up to the gate and then use them to maneuver them so you can open the gate or go over the gate properly. For example, my old pony, who I'm not riding anymore, but she was great at the gates. I never really had to practice them. They were just something that came really automatic to her, whereas the horse I have now is not as good as the gates, and I really have to work on it more. I have to take time with her because she gets a lot more anxious, and then that of course takes up time that you don't really have. So practicing it on the horse that you're going to be doing the competition is important, because every horse needs a different way of going up to the gate, and they need different signals from your hand and your leg as well. The main thing that I would say is practicing the gates, 1, and 2, practicing the efficiency of how you go around your course. It is not like a hunter round or an equitation round in the sense of the speed that you would be going. It is more of at a jumper pace. And usually in the past, when I've lost points, it's been because I've either been too slow in the rest of my course or because I've been too slow at the gates. So I would definitely recommend practicing your pace and keeping up on being faster than you really think you should be, because even though I had really fast horses and horses that are pretty efficient for the most part and are used to doing jumper rounds at hunter jumper shows, I still would always lose my points either in time at the gates or time throughout the course. That's where I would lose my points. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. My next video will be on either just the gates aspect of things or examples of real courses and how you should control your horse on the rest of the course versus at the gates part. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock, you can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
You could be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you gon' find yourself
Standing in the